I'm going to get real with you. I might make you mad here, Christian. What happened?
Yeah, what happened?
You don't know?
Warn us.
Well, how do I want to answer that?
Rumor is it AJ who's calling you Christiana or something online? What is going on there?
Not enough people in his life telling him the truth, right? And that's what I would say to him.
I'm going to just come out and say this. I can tell you're an Iowa fan. I think it's bubbling out your ears.
What's your number one, really?
But no order. You said about 5.
Okay. Okay.
You know,
You on the card wrestling. I'm telling you, people come.
your son had an upset stomach. He was nauseous. Right here, let me get the Zantac.
All right, folks, welcome back to PEG Wrestling.
Hey,
We are
here with someone special.
the one and only. I mean, we've had the voice of wrestling on. I would argue this is the face of wrestling. The one and only Christian
Yes. Wow.
Pyles.
Wow.
That's a tough start.
Well, I gotta
Hey.
I gotta come right out of the gates, Christian, and I gotta say thank you for all you do for wrestling. That's sincere, and I think part of the reason you've even come on and did do this interview with us, you recognize that our true motive here is we want to help this sport and everything. But I got to come right out of the gates right now, and first thing, just ask you. So how much money did change hands? I mean, for you to win these 3 pick'em contests in a row. First off, that's kind of impossible. I don't know what, it kind of has some sort of stench around it.
Wrestle Madness.
Yeah.
Pick'em contest.
Well, there's-
undefeated.
Yeah, undefeated. And I'm glad we're starting with this because you call me the face. That's a pretty ridiculous. I'd like to consider myself right now the pharmacist of wrestling because I heard your son had an upset stomach. He was nauseous. Right here, let me get the Zantac. It says on here, it'll cure a sour stomach. So
Okay.
I mean,
I needed it.
I saw you're nauseous, Zach. That I won.
I almost puked on air. I know.
Yeah, Zach says, yeah, I'm going to puke in my mouth if Pyles wins this again. And sure enough,
I hated to hear that.
dude, you had to be a little depressed early because while it was going on, this is a pick'em contest for the CKLV, by the way, folks. And Pyles is kind of mid-pack the whole time. All the time, I'm already thinking about, okay, I got to send some sort of message and gloat because obviously I got Pyles beat. Next thing I know, here up comes, it's coming up. I thought this, something about this. No. And there he goes. You won going away.
Yeah. So I was working the entire time. I didn't even think about it for a second. And then I got on and I saw, I don't know if I saw tweets or y'all's message. I was like, I won again. I was honestly like, that's kind of insane to win the first 3. And there was over 200 people in that one. I don't know. I didn't expect it. And a lot of, I think a lot of, I don't know what all goes into it math wise, but a lot of my finalists made it. But I thought I took some lumps early, but I think probably everyone did just because that tournament's so crazy. But yeah. No, that has been fun. I don't know if I can keep it rolling, but I love this stuff. This is, I mean, that my a lot of my passion for wrestling was really, I was on these message boards in these fantasy wrestling leagues, and I just freaking it grabbed a hold of me a long time ago. So I love the game of it too. So I think about this kind of stuff a lot. So it's really fun for me. And even though there's
that is one thing.
No money.
That's one thing I wanted to ask you about is how I wanted you to kind of tell your story about how you got into Flo and got involved in wrestling in the first place, because from what I've heard is a pretty unique story.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's definitely a non-conventional path to being in wrestling media. I wrestled only 1 year in high school. I was a runner. I did cross country and track, and that was kind of my thing. And I've told this story before, but these wrestlers came out for cross country, and they told me, "Hey, you should come out for wrestling this year. You would start. We got this guy. You would beat him." And so, I was dumb, obviously, because they said I could win a sport I had never done. So they just wanted me to come out for the team. But I did it. I don't know if it was just like, a little impulsive senior year, whatever, give something a try. They had asked me to do it in the past. It's a super small school. There's like 400 kids at the high school. So basically everyone's recruiting off every team to try to fill the lineup or whatever. And so no different in wrestling, especially in wrestling, right? It's not a, traditional sport, and especially in, small town Virginia. And so I went out for it, and it was immediately like the hardest thing I'd ever done. And obviously I was not good at all in the beginning, or possibly debatably ever. But I did end up starting, which, so maybe the cross country runner wrestler guys were right. But so basically I really did come to appreciate and love the sport, and love I think I realized at that point, at what, I guess I was 17 when I started, like, oh wow, I don't really actually know what my limits were. Like I did in school or in running or in any other sport. I never really tested myself and like found that edge like I did in wrestling. And you find your edge every single day. You're at your limit. You guys all know. And that was like really eye-opening for me, and like kind of made me think like, whoa, it kind of opened my eyes to my own potential, which I guess I probably never really had a high view of at that point. And then I also just really appreciated how the sport seemed to reward like the hardest workers and the guys that were putting in the time. And so I thought that was awesome. And then so the season wrapped, and I was like, I have a younger brother who is like me, but smarter and harder working. I was like, he's small like me. And so I was like, all right, he would be good at this. So I got him into it in middle school, and he ended up being pretty freaking good. And, for small school Virginia, right? And so my focus was like, how I want to get him as good as possible at this sport. So I didn't have the knowledge. So I was just seeking out the knowledge every way I could. I was talking to coaches, but more than anything, I was just online watching and reading and finding as much wrestling as I could watch. And this is, 2006, 7, 8. So it's early everything, right? Early internet, super early flow. I remember watching duels on something called livesportsvideo.com, where I don't know what it was or how I found it, but they were just uploading these New Jersey high school duels, and I would watch them all. And so that's how I got like into it. It started with me wanting to learn how to coach it, because I wanted to teach. And then I ended up coaching at my alma mater eventually, and I was a head coach at a point too for a couple of years, which is sort of crazy. But coinciding with that, I started to really get into college wrestling, and I just was watching everything then. And then at that point, I think one thing that helped me was there wasn't much online, so you actually could kind of consume almost everything about college wrestling that you wanted to know. So I really felt like I wasn't missing much, and I was able to keep up with it. Like right now, if you're a new fan, like there's never probably been a better time to get into wrestling, but it's also, there's so much more now. There's so much more in streaming. There's so much more you can watch. It's almost harder to wrap your mind around, but it's like basically all you could watch was like Big Ten Network, Fridays and Sunday duels, and whatever Flow had. And that was kind of it. So you could kind of watch it all. And so I was able to kind of stay up to speed with it. And then I ended up on this message board, and they had fantasy wrestling, and I started to get super, super into that. And so this is a very accelerated timeline, but just psychotically focused on wrestling more than anything, to my own detriment. It's not my job. I was a teacher and a coach, and like I should not have been spending as much time. And thankfully my wife was, I don't know. I mean, smart, stupid. I don't know. It worked out great, but supportive for sure. And then in 2012, I guess it was 2012, Willie reached out to me to do the college rankings. FLO Wrestling didn't have any college rankings or really any college written offering. And he's like, hey, would you want to do this? And I just jumped at the opportunity. And I had my buddy Ben. We did the first ever college rankings for FLO Wrestling. And then I sensed that they liked what I was doing. And I also, no one did write-ups about why guys were ranked where. And I asked Willie, I was like, hey, can we do that? Could we say, hey, this is why we're doing what we're doing? And he said, yeah. So then I did a write-up for every single weight, including pound for pound. And I got a sense that they liked that. And so I was like, okay. Then I just started emailing them preview content, like, hey, Minnesota and Oklahoma State are wrestling. I just wrote a 10-match preview. what I think is going to happen, the matchup, and a prediction. And so, and maybe this is ironic or whatever, but I started off very hot, and I had a couple duels where I got all 10 right, which I don't even know if I could do right now, but apparently if it was Wrestle Madness, maybe I would. But
I think you could, yeah.
I was red hot, okay? And so they start to get some idea that I'm like some genius or something. And it's like, no, I'm just a guy. I just think about this stuff a lot. And so then I do that for like a year. It's just volunteer, but I love it. And it's just like, man, I'm on FLO Wrestling. It's like, how is this happening? I'm a nobody wrestler from a nowhere wrestling school. I don't know anybody really. It's just all online relationships. And in 2013, Joe Williamson left FLO for a time, and they had an opening, and then I got hired. And I worked remote for a couple of years, and there's a lot of other stuff that happened before and after that. But that's the quick and dirty of how I got to FLO and how I got into media. And yeah, I didn't know where it was going to take me, but it's something I always wanted. That's for sure.
That's a cool story. I can tell just by your knowledge of the sport that you're a good coach. Currently, you're coaching kids, right?
Yeah. I coach at 512 Outlaws. It's a club in Cedar Park, Texas. I do love coaching. I miss, I would say as much as I love this job. I can't even describe it, but some of my greatest joys and memories are still coaching high school wrestling. There was nothing like it. I love it. I do miss it every day. I scratch the itch with the youth thing, but there's nothing like every single day, year round, just like helping kids and seeing them reach their goals. And that was really, really special. So yeah,
I gotta ask you, your son is having some success, I think, at wrestling. Am I right there right now?
No. I mean, he's fine. We're getting better.
You're being modest. Once he gets to that level, he reaches an elite level. What are you going to have to move to Wisconsin? Because
no, Ben's got to open one down here.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Which isn't a bad idea, to tell you the truth.
I know. I've been on him about that. No, I mean, listen, the last thing I really want to do is coach my son. I really is not something I want to do right now. I think it's he has a lot of people in his life that are helping him, but I would still say I'm his primary coach, and it's not easy. It's not easy at all.
I think found interesting. Sorry, Kristen, I got to say, the one thing I found interesting about that story is that, so he wrestled 1 year in high school, right?
Yeah.
Sound kind of like someone you know. And then he had a younger brother that he helped, who his younger brother ended up turning out to be a stud. Sounds like someone else you know. Right? Pyles, we are the same, me and you. And I think we might be about the same age, too.
I watched Corey's Golden Journey. I saw that.
Did you really? Wow.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Hey,
that's cool.
That was his video he made back in the day.
Listen, I'm gonna get real with you. I might make you mad here, Christian. Okay. I think you do an excellent job of hiding this. But if you have a keen eye, I'm gonna just come out and say this. I can tell you're an Iowa fan. I think it's bubbling out your ears.
You can?
Yes! That's what I'm talking about. I'm going to just tell Kale and the boys, don't even bother once Caleb gets that age. I already know where he's going.
Wow. No. Man, it's funny you say that. Yeah, it's no secret that was a start of my story for sure. I read, and this is probably something I neglected in mentioning, but I read A Season on the Mat, and that was a true source of inspiration. There's not a lot of books about wrestling, and I read that one, and I was like, oh my gosh, the way these guys think, it's so different and unique. But I'll say, as I got into this job and doing it more, and I'm not doing a bit here, I really don't feel that way about any team anymore.
No,
I don't have a dog. I mean, apart from and I'm very, any of the Virginia teams, I'm behind 100%, just because I have a lot of state pride. I love Virginia. I love what Virginia Tech's been able to do. My brother went there. I have a lot of pride to see Virginia Tech go from, the basement of college wrestling to a premier program and an amazing place. So I definitely. I did have some loyalties for sure. Now, not as much, but that hasn't stopped. I've tried to get my son and to hey, maybe root for some other teams. Get some other wrestlers. But he is black and gold all the way. So
I
can't do anything.
Yeah, that's what that's where I got it from. Loving dad, the
Yeah.
son likes this. You're kind of but
He did not know. He did not know. I'll say this. He had no idea that I was ever an Iowa fan, and he still doesn't think I ever was. I don't know. He saw Spencer Lee, and I don't know what it was, but he's just like, that's my guy, and he has just been black and gold through and through, immovable.
Well, yeah, I get it. Spencer Lee, man, role model out there. But listen, so you can't be biased. You can't have a favorite team. However, I'm pretty sure you're a big fan of the Ferraris, right? You're a big Ferrari fan, specifically, I believe, AJ. Or maybe not. I don't know. What? Apparently, rumor is it AJ who's calling you Christiana or something online? What is going on there?
I don't know. I've thought about this a lot because I felt like, I guess he's taken an exception with some of the things I've said about him, and I feel like that just makes me think there's maybe not enough people in his life telling him the truth, right? And that's what I would say to him. But yeah, I honestly, I have no issue.
I'm jealous. I'm jealous because I've been personally trying to get under AJ's skin, and I can't get no nicknames made up of me.
I think that's part of the play here. Pyles is the biggest. I mean, you're the big guy at FLO, okay? So if I pick a fight with the big guy, I get more attention. AJ is an expert at getting hits on social media.
Marketing
that's
himself.
what I think the angle's going.
Could be.
Yeah, but
I don't know.
Talking about your FLO, I got so I would say you take all the criticism basically at FLO. My question is, how much responsibility do you actually have there? You can't be responsible for everything that FLO post every day, right? What is your level of involvement with everything?
Well, how do I want to answer that? I'm involved. But I think currently, what you see on FRL, what you see posted just from my content, my face, that's kind of my main contribution right now. That's my focus is just strictly content creation right now, and there is a leadership component, but I'm trying to think of the best way to answer this. But basically, all the front facing FLO people, if you see an article, a video, a video that's not an archive, a match archive, or a ranking, that's under the content team's purview. That's our stuff. If it's there's a technical issue or a live stream or X, Y, and Z, that's related to other departments, and so we're all one team for sure. So there's not there's no one at FLO that's gonna be we're not really big finger pointers, and we're not gonna say, well, that's over here, that's over there. We're all working together trying to do something pretty special and unique, and there's no level of investment in the sport like what FLO Wrestling and FLO Sports does. There's no company in existence whose sole goal is to grow wrestling every day to the level that we're trying to do. So
is wrestling number 2 at FLO? I assume racing is probably number 1. Is wrestling number 2 at FLO?
There's a couple bigger verticals, and wrestling and racing are definitely among them. Yeah.
Because FLO's big, you guys do hockey and everything. Are you all in one building and okay, this corner's wrestling, this corner's hockey? How's that work?
So it's not it's broken up by departments. We do have a main headquarters in Austin, Texas. There is we acquired a hockey company, and they're in Canada, but so they have an HQ there. But yeah, basically we're all in Austin, Texas. We do have a few remote employees, but we're basically all in Austin, and it's not really by sport, it's by team, and then, or it's by like, so we're on the content team. So content team's all in one area, and then within that, the wrestling team is together. But like there's marketers, there's live production, there's customer support, and we're all kind of in Austin, Texas.
Okay, I got to ask you this, Christian. As a matter of fact, I probably heard it on FRL. I don't know. It might have came from you, or it might have came from Ben, but as soon as I heard it, it stuck in my head, and it's still stuck in my head. I think that this helps the sport in a big way. That is seeding nationals by wins only, and the effect that would have on wrestling. What's your thoughts about that?
Wins only. Well, I listen. So I was a ranker, as I mentioned, for a long time, and I think there's just two main things you have to look at, like who'd you beat and who beat you. And I feel like if you beat number 1, 2, and 3, but you have a loss to 26, someone else that's beaten 1 and 2, but has not faced as bad a loss, wouldn't you then think, all right, that guy's probably better, right?
Well, I agree. That's the most accurate way to seed a tournament. There's no doubt that is the most accurate way. But I'm kind of looking big picture here at what would benefit this sport. Could you imagine wrestlers seeking out the best of the best just for the additional points of beating a seeded guy? Or the epidemic we have now where wrestlers don't even wrestle. It's like it's like the system is working against what we, the fans, want, and that we just want to see as much wrestling as possible.
I agree. I think, they took steps with the medical forfeit to mitigate some of that stuff, where you had wrestlers saying, all right, I got my win over this guy, I won't wrestle him again, let me forfeit. So that was a good step. I think everyone's trying to solve the make wrestlers wrestle more problem. I don't know why it feels like there are just legitimately more injuries now than there were in the past. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's guys or wrestlers are coming into their college careers with hundreds, if not thousands, more matches than the previous, 15-year generation had coming in. And so there's only so many high, a coach told me you only have so many high crotches. You only have so many sprawls, so many in your body. And then at some point, it doesn't work as well. So I don't know if it's related to that. If wins only was a thing, I think that's fine. But once you have the win over the guy, then there's no real reason to wrestle him again, I guess, because you don't want to give them the win over you, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like it could be a combination of a lot of things. I know the level of the high school wrestlers now is higher than I've ever remembered. This is crazy good. And like we got 8-10 of them that are just it's unbelievable. If I want to term them as super recruits, this is a tough question, maybe a little unfair, but do you have, like, if someone held you down, they got a gun against your head and they said, give me the top 5 super recruits right now?
I think we all know the names, right? It's well, for which class, 25 or 26? Just generally?
That is good. That's true.
I would say
let's go general. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, Bo, Jax.
Bassett's your number 1, really?
But no order. You said by 5.
Okay. Okay.
But maybe that is. I mean, that's a guy that's going to score a lot of points. Jax, and also like, one thing I'm thinking about, and I've mentioned this, like Blaze and Jax, the Rainies, are all these guys going to be beating each other up in the same weight classes? That kind of, if Bo's a little bit bigger, that's good, and that's why the next name I'm going to say, D Lockett, is someone I'm exceptionally high on. I think he's going to be fantastic, and he's kind of out of that fray, at least with all these other elite guys. Where as you look at, there's that position. If you like almost like a fantasy term is like it's kind of him, and he doesn't really have a peer, right? He bumped up and beat the number one guy, Melvin Miller. He just dominated through Iron Man. He's super, super good.
True. That's true.
So he would be on there as well.
I'm sure Duke would be on there as well.
Oh yeah. I mean,
actually, that's my number one. That guy just blows the top of my head off.
Yeah, the level of physicality that guy has. I mean, yeah, I don't know why I didn't. I think Lays is he just more recently committed, so he was maybe top of mind, but he's in the same class as PJ, who I think is. I mean, he's. I legitimately think he might make the team this year, senior level. I mean, you look at what he's doing. I mean, he beats these guys up, senior level wrestlers.
I know
he's a high schooler.
It's crazy. But I got to ask you kind of off that question. Christian, we hear all these big numbers, man. We hear a lot of numbers, NIL numbers. Like, in general, are these numbers accurate that we are hearing? Like, Vega apparently got 50,000 to visit the campus and then another 100,000 to commit. Like, in general. Or is that anywhere close, or do you have any idea?
I don't know that. The power to start a rumor, and the ability to start a rumor, there is no bar low enough. I mean, it takes nothing to do this. If you have the right person's number, these people will put out anything you tell them, including that. So that's what makes these things real in our minds. And there's some big numbers for sure. There's some real numbers, but also you only need the right person's phone number to get a rumor out there online and to have it seen by a lot of people. And to me, I mean, that's why we don't really engage with it, because I don't think, we don't know. And, and what we do know, we feel like it's not really our business to share. So, I mean, I think, there's the big players are out there, but as far as what Oklahoma State and Penn State are paying, I'm not really sure. I think they're getting taken care of, but 50,000 to visit, I hadn't heard that till this show.
Wow.
Yeah, wrestling fans, there's a lot of them have a lot of spitfire, and I kind of was a little worried about something. We're just a little podcast here. We're just getting our feet off, the ground, just starting this right now. Zach does a call-in show. Now, way back at the beginning of FRL had call-in. Now, someone mentioned to me until one particular call-in, and it all ended.
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah, what happened?
You don't know?
Warn us.
I genuinely don't know.
Okay, well, it's the second. Well, we've only done it once, and it was on the second episode. So we're talking 10 years ago. But the very first caller, I don't even know how to. I don't really talk the way this guy talked. But he asked me an inappropriate question. It was kind of hilarious that it happened to me and my buddy Kyle Brackey. We're on like a little chat here because he was like, I forget what he was doing, but he was helping me with it. And as soon as like I like hung up on him, and Brackey just texted me 0 for 1. And we kept him coming for that show. And we're like, all right, well, we don't have a way to vet these people, or we did, or yeah. I say that, but like we just had, everything was just bootstrapped. And it's like, all right, I gave out this number on Twitter. I said, hey, call in at this time if you want to get on the show. And so I'm doing the show live. It's Flo Wrestling Radio live. Yeah. So it's live. And so, all right, we got our first call coming in. Answer. And he gave a fake name, and then asked me a funny question, a very rude question, and then but the fool called in from his cell phone. So then I harassed him for a couple months. So at a point, I was just like, it was so fun. I'm just kind of like this. I don't know. I don't think it's a good quality or not, but it entertained me. But like, I had this guy's number. I'd be like, oh, what's Johnny doing? So I would just call him up. And he would answer. I'd be like, Johnny. I'm like, why'd you do it, man? He's like, man, just please stop. And I was like, oh,
that's funny.
I got him.
That's funny.
That's interesting. Because we take that risk every week. And
Christian,
you guys,
maybe I'll get y'all.
You guys, you guys at Flo had the other week. Number one thing you would do. You're president of the wrestling world. What do you do? If I remember correctly, I think you mentioned a duels championship. Am I right there? Here's my
Yes.
question. Why hasn't this happened yet? What's preventing this?
Coaches. And I would
What?
say, y'all didn't know that?
Yes, I've heard you say that before, and I know you're right. It's just,
Why?
The power coaches.
Explain this.
yeah,
to me.
explain it to us.
If the power coaches wanted it, it would happen immediately. They don't want it.
So Kale's scared. Kale's running away.
Boo!
That's
Didn't
basically
say that.
what he said.
No,
That's it.
I don't
That's
think
what I
so.
just read between the lines. That's what I read. I looked between the lines, and
Oh, come on, coaches. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's give the people what they want.
I would say the main impediment to a lot of things happening, and I'm not saying the name you're saying, Zach, but they have their charge, right? The college coaches have their charge, which is to have the best, college team they can. And like when we were doing the cards, right? During COVID, and we were doing, we did the Burroughs Taylor match, and we did all these other ones. I would say the biggest, there were two things, but really the biggest slowdown and the reason it didn't take off is coaches nuked a lot of our potential matches. We had some big matches agreed to, and then these coaches, it doesn't really help them, right? So they would say, hey, we don't want to give a look, or we don't want to do X, Y, and Z, so don't do this match. It's like, man, well, you just had your wrestler turn down $20,000. All
Yeah,
right.
but just so I'm understanding, I'm trying to put myself in the coach's shoes. Okay, I don't want to mess with our potential national championships. And if I'm off here doing a duels championship, one of my guys could get hurt and possibly affect our national championship. What is that? Am I on the right path here? Why they're against it? They don't.
injury potentials and look. You don't want to give a
That's
look,
it.
right?
Yes.
I don't know how much the look thing factors in or not. I think the rigor at the end of the season is challenging and an obstacle. Like, man, 2 weeks before Big Tens, are we gonna wrestle this insane dual meet tournament? Then, from January on, listen, this thing doesn't exist without Big Ten teams. We can agree with that. The Big Ten schedule is a mandated thing. You don't pick your schedule. The Big Ten says you are going to Nebraska on this day at this time. So that's pretty much set. So finding a weekend in there. So now we're doing it in the first semester. Okay, so there are challenges, and I don't like to I'm not just trying to blame the coaches 100%, but I think if the coaches want, but it is true that if the coaches wanted it, it would happen. And there are coaches that do want it, obviously, and they're vocal online about it. But that is the obstacle.
Okay, the next thing I got to ask. Shouldn't there be a minimum number of matches wrestled to be considered for the Hodge? Isn't that like, again, I'm trying to push wrestlers into wrestling. I noticed Stevenson didn't wrestle this past week. And I thought, well, why wouldn't he wrestle? And what I don't want is Stevenson to come out at 12-0, Hodge winner this year. It's like, put a little pressure. Look, you want this prestigious award, you're going to have to work for it. You're going to have to at least. Is this a little crazy?
Not crazy. I think you're creating something that probably is not going to be reality. I think Gable will probably end with 20 matches or so. So I don't think he'll be 12-0. I mean, I think he would. I mean, just with postseason alone, he's going to get 8, right?
Yep.
And I think he's gonna wrestle their dual schedule. So I think he's gonna have a fair number of matches. I think match count is down for almost every team. They're just wrestling less and less. You maybe go to one tournament, if that. Penn State only does Black Knight. Iowa only does Soldier Salute. It's just, if you don't do Vegas, you're not doing probably a super big tournament. The holiday tournaments are just a little different than they were now. So I think the narrative around a ton of matches is just like, I think the coaches are a little wary of them. So, minimum match. But who's won the Hodge without a lot of wins, apart from 2021 where they weren't allowed to wrestle? Like pretty much everyone that wins the Hodge has a significant match count. Like, what was the lowest match count to win the Hodge Trophy?
That's a good question.
I can tell
Gable will win if he, Gable's not just going to be able to sit out now till Big Tens and win the Hodge, I don't think. And I don't think that's his intention.
Yeah, well, a little Gable bias coming from over here. Sorry, Christian.
No.
I
like Gable. No,
one says they like. No. I like Gable. No, you don't like Gable. I like the dinner, honey. No, you didn't,
dude. Gable's like a girlfriend that cheated on me. You're out running around with other guys, and then you want to come home and have me take care of you. Whoa! I'm just saying, little.
You gotta start making dinner. You gotta start making dinner again. If you want back in the house or something, right?
Wow.
Wayne's been hurt.
He has. He got heartbroken.
Talking about Stevenson. Okay, we know there's talk. There's talk about AJ, Gable, and Carter. All kind of we anticipate may end up UFC someday. If you had to say, Christian, which one of them would be the most successful UFC guy of them three?
I would probably say Gable. I don't know how you'd be able to stop him from taking you down, and I don't know. I think. Listen. I'm not an MMA evaluator by any stretch, but I think he's got what he's able to do athletically with his size blows my mind. And I don't see that with any of the other guys. Really, I haven't seen that with anyone ever. And he's going to be a heavyweight, right? Which I think it's just not fair. Whereas Carter is going to go into probably a really loaded weight. AJ would probably be 185. It's a really tough weights. So, and I also I think it's really tough to predict. I mean, how was Ed Ruth not just a transcendent MMA fighter? I don't understand that. How Bubba Jenkins, these guys, true. I mean, who didn't think those guys were going to be monsters? Not that I'm not taking either. Bubba's had a long, good career, and Ed wasn't a total bust. Or it's not what I'm saying. I just thought when those guys were coming out, I was like, these guys are going to be amazing. I knew the work ethic and the ability of Ed Ruth, and I just thought this is going to be awesome. And it was fine, but he wasn't, even a Colby Covington level guy. Colby Covington was just a guy who was a fine wrestler, All-American, but like you would never say, if you were drafting the 2008, place winners or 10, whenever he placed, you wouldn't say, Colby Covington and Justin Gaethje, these guys are bound for MMA glory. Like what would that be? So since then, I'm like, how would I know?
Yeah. Well, I think that's what makes it Bo Nickel so interesting, so fascinating to see how he turns out. But I will mention Stevenson training with John Jones, who is like the GOAT MMA. So I agree with that pick. But Christian, I got a question here because, next week we're doing our first live stream commentating of a wrestling match, me and this guy. Now, we do have the fortune of being able to bounce off each other because we're doing it together. I got to ask you, because often you guys are doing so many events where you guys get put out where you call matches, dual matches, solo, just by yourself. I want to ask you how difficult that is to call a match by yourself versus when you have a co-host with you.
Honestly, to me, it's easier. And really? When you started, and back in the day, when you started at FLO, like the job responsibility really changed. Like you were there to upload the matches because we didn't have auto archive. So that's a big reason you were there. You were there to commentate the matches, right? We would spread out and everyone sit on a mat. And you were there to do interviews, right? So a big portion of why we were going to these events was to commentate. And so you learn how to do it on your own. And I think the hardest part of commentary is like there's when you have a color and a play-by-play, and anymore I'm play-by-play. And so just understanding the ebbs and flows of each other, and when I'm going, when it's a good time for you, and when it's time for that person to back out so play-by-play can take back over, etc. is that's an important. It's just like anything, like you need to have that team dynamic. But for me, it's not hard for me to sit down and just say what is happening, and then to say what I think about it, or what it's. I think it's easier. So, yeah, that's what I love.
That's
And I also love commentary. I love, having my voice on matches and giving my thoughts. Is something I've always enjoyed.
what do you enjoy more, like the FRL live or commentating a match?
Commentary.
Really?
I really love it. I mean, and even though um, I love being able to give my opinion, and that's something I've been doing FRL my entire life with my family and with my friends in sports. Like I just have always loved arguing about sports. So I really do like that. I like to have an opinion. I like to put out that's not really, I'm not revealing anything new to anyone here, but commentary, just the energy. I love more than anything. I love watching wrestling. I love watching it up close. I love hearing the coaches in the corner, and there's just something you can, when you are sitting right there and you see the ref and you see the coaches and how they're interacting, you see how they're interacting with the athletes, and you're seeing the action on the mat. I'm just trying to when I'm doing that, I'm trying to bring as much of that, what is coming into my eyes and my brain. I'm trying to get that in front of you. I want you to know what Zeke is saying to the ref, and what David's saying to his guy, and how they're interacting with each other. And then also, trying to bring energy and excitement to the exciting moments that they're giving you. So I mean, I think, yeah, that's what I would say. I love commentary.
You might have called this match. I'm not certain. But what I'm interested in is, did this affect your shock meter? Haynes beating O'Toole over the summer in freestyle.
I did not call that match. Yeah, but I was there. That opened my eyes. It really did. I mean, and then my mind was open to Levi maybe being able to beat Keegan then. And I left Omaha thinking Levi's gonna be the national champion at 174.
Wow.
Yeah,
I'm starting to think.
I mean, I'm sure Keegan's he went. He's going to have a specific game plan to fix what was broke during that match, but he didn't get close to scoring. It was like 6-0, if I remember correctly. That's one of the most intriguing things coming our way that I don't know what to think. Really, I can't be shocked if Keegan wins next time they wrestle, but I can't be shocked if it looks very similar to what we've seen in freestyle either. But
I think Levi and I think for Keegan, yeah, you count him out at your own peril. This is a guy who figured out David Carr, after it looked like he maybe wasn't going to get it, and then he got it. And then of course Carr got the last laugh, but that rivalry started with Carr kind of handling Keegan. If you remember, he rode him for a long time. No one thought that was coming. He was able to take him down. He was able to finish on Keegan. And you're like, wow, they're not close. And then they were. And go ahead.
Is there a single matchup in this college season that you're most excited for possibly happening?
Also, would you give Angelo Ferrari any shot against Carter?
I already know the answer there.
I don't think so.
Wow.
Okay, I am.
Wow.
I mean, any shot. I mean, okay. I guess I have to say yes. I mean, I don't think I don't think the chance is zero, but man, I just think that's when you think about first of all, are they going to wrestle? I don't know. I wouldn't guess, but if they did, I mean, first of all, Angelo looks amazing. How he wrestled against Bachman, this isn't just my opinion. Talking to coaches, they're like, this is not Iowa coaches either. They're not gassing him up. It's other coaches are saying that he could be a 4-timer, right? So that's how he's being viewed by. These are elite coaches. These are elite perspectives, not my own. He looks unreal. So I do think it's one of those things where, yeah, you can get close, you can feel like you're close, but with Carter, close ain't close. And I think it'd be probably a one takedown match. And I mean, watch Carter's NCAAs, especially his quarter semis and finals. The numbers were close, but who was close? None, nobody. And so that's how I mean, Carter,
and the All-Star Classic was a good example of that. I mean, even when Keckeisen got in kind of deep, I see what you're saying there. Yeah.
And also, Mackay Carter started off kind of close, right? Close, but not. It was like a 2-0, really boring match. And then he just pulled away as time went on. And I think Carter, okay, given a feel, he's such a good competitor. There's a lot of things you can say about him. But I think more than anything, the competitor he is his number one attribute. It's not something physical. It's the mindset. It's his ability to learn and react and make strategical adjustments. And Angelo's first shot may be his best shot, so I it's a possibility, but
you know what just hit me?
Just say this out loud. Here's what you're saying, Wayne. When you're saying Angelo Ferrari over Carter Starachi, you are saying a true freshman is going to go to Rec Hall and beat a 4-time national champion.
That would take a true dog.
That's insane. But
he is the younger brother, Christian, and we talked about younger brothers being better.
It just hit me. We may see Gabe Arnold against Ferrari at the Soldier Salute, won't we?
Yeah. I wonder how they're going to handle that. I mean,
whoa, that just hit me. Actually, I wouldn't mind seeing Nelson against Kennedy.
Yeah.
I think you will see that one. I think they're trying to figure out what to do at 174, and I don't envy the position Coach Brands and company are in with that one, where it's blood versus this loyal warrior in Kennedy.
Dude, I know.
I wouldn't surprise me if Angelo beat Gabe, but they may go no. I could see them making the finals and not wrestling.
That's what's going to happen. Money on it. I put my money on it.
Hey, I put 2 thumbs down on that too, but I just don't think they want to create any tension.
Do you have the Debbie Downer little picture you could throw up?
I just don't. I want you a little sad now. I don't want you heartbroken around the new year, Wayne.
Actually, thank you, Kristen. Yeah. You're right. I didn't even think about that angle, but you're right. They won't wrestle.
We don't know.
No, Tom's going to shock us. They're wrestling.
I hope so.
I'm just being optimistic here. I got to ask you, Kristen, look, first off, can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming on with us.
Yep.
But I got to ask you, I got 2 more things I want to ask you. First one, I don't know if you got more, but the first one is, do you have, we're just a father and son just starting up. Do you have any advice that you would give BG?
A good question. Man, my advice, the thing I think that's helped me the most is I just, I don't think I would be where I am if I didn't just watch as much wrestling as I could for a long time and just try to have I think when people are going to listen to you, you better know, you better put your time in, I think is the most important thing. And I think for me, something that was so important, I was like, just in the back of my mind, I was like, I was a nobody wrestler. I have no background. I have no status. So I have got to know what I'm talking about, right? And that was just in my mind. Whether people think that, I'm sure they probably do to a degree, but like, there's not going to be, I would never let the question come in that like, he doesn't, watch this or love this or live this. So I think keeping that as the, front and center is important. And that's not hard for me. I love it. I watch wrestling for fun all the time. It's what I enjoy doing. You gotta, I don't know. I think in a simple way. You got to do that, but always be, I mean, FRL, you listen to the first episode and the 300th episode and the 800th and the 1085th, they're all going to be different because we're changing, and like, don't get caught in a rut with anything. And if you look at Flow Wrestling content from 2007 to 2013 to 2017 to now, it's not just the website looks different. Our strategies are completely different. So, you gotta evolve and change and enjoy it. And it's sports. It's supposed to be fun. And I think you guys do a good job of the reason I like I get a kick out of you guys is because I see the fun and the passion and behind it. And so it cracks me up. Except the one thing I don't like, your freaking logo. It looks like the Iranian flag. It is the Iranian flag. Drives me crazy.
I know.
I had to figure out for a long time. I was like, what is it?
You're looking at the graphics department right here, Pyles.
It's the
all right. Yeah, he said he doesn't like the red and the green, and I said it's the mats.
I know what it is, but in my mind, just international wrestling, I was like, that's freaking. I think about Zare, and he just makes me mad. And then, and then I was like, oh wait, it's the lines where you put your feet, the red and the green. I get it. I get it.
Hey,
all right,
Christian,
I'll look into some changes there.
We got bigger problems than that. We got
audio's
taking him down and put him on his back.
Yeah, well,
we've already had the 4 count.
You're looking at the whole the graphics department, the management team. You're looking at the whole team over here. But listen, I do agree with that. That's good advice, Pyles. Well, I'm always about changing and evolving. My final question is: you guys just started up, I believe, this year, Wrestling Night in America. I love it. And they're on Flow. I got to ask you, is there anything maybe you guys have scheduled in the future that you can cue us in on ahead of time at Flow? Anything, you know what I mean? Exciting?
Yeah, well, this is our first year doing that. And the idea is we want to have, like you think about like college football has the like Tuesday night action or whatever, just like a standalone evening for wrestling. We've had some duels in the past. I remember, I don't know if y'all do, but South Dakota State and Wyoming wrestled on like a Wednesday or Thursday or something. It was completely removed from everything. And then Seth Gross bumped up to wrestle Bryce Meredith. And like, we happened to live stream that when we were like, oh, people love this. Everyone converged because no one's wrestling. No one else is competing. Everyone's just at home. And so we want to kind of create that on a weekly basis. In wrestling, like something you can look forward to. And hey, no, on every Wednesday or every Thursday, whichever day we decide, there's some big time wrestling, and you're gonna get the full weight of our support and Flow Wrestling trying to hype it up and give wrestling fans something to look forward to. That's not Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Because let's be honest, the fan base is very active. It's not like MMA. No MMA fans are like MMA fighters, right? But almost every wrestling fan, a large percentage of them are either competing or coaching or something on the weekends, right? So it's a big obstacle that the sport has, that our fan base is thankfully and necessarily engaged and involved. But that's the other thing. Like, I'm going to miss the dual Sunday because Caleb's wrestling, and I miss some weekends because it's harder. But so that's what we're trying to do, trying to give some support to some programs that maybe don't get that usual shine. But then ultimately we want to have some big time duels on those days as well. So that's what we're doing.
I love
Christian. I notice you're getting a little more jacked than you were a couple years back. I'm assuming you're in the gym. So, of course, my next question is, when are you going to wrestle? Maybe go to a tournament with your son. Maybe with your son and daughter. I don't know. But here's my suggestion, my real suggestion. You wrestling a known, I don't know, let's make it like a high schooler star. You on the card wrestling. I'm telling you, people will come, and they will want to see that. It's kind of like Jake Polish, isn't it?
That's a great idea, Pyles. How about that?
Okay, item one. You have clearly been talking to my son, Caleb, who maybe he wants to watch me wrestle in a competition so badly. And I've never let the door be open even for a second. I'm not, I'm almost 40. And so when you're almost 40 and you're not on, PEDs or anything, it's like, man, your body just does not recover the same. I'll tell this story. So I work closely with the FLO Grappling content team, friends with all those guys, and this kid, and he's like 26. We at ADCC in 2022, we were just fired up and scrapping, and I hit him in a Merkle and put him on his back. And so I've kind of held that over him for a while. He's a bigger guy. He's a good athlete. Like it worked because he's a jiu-jitsu guy. He like wrestled in middle school. And so then he's like, we should, and I love wrestling. I love to wrestle. It is just so very fun for me. And so we set it up so that, all right, I don't want to wrestle you in a match because like he's 215 pounds. And so I was like, let's do just some situations. And we did situations. And my shoulder is still messed up from doing these. And like it was pretty close. We said, all right, we're going to do 10 situations, which is actually 20. Cause like I'm on a high crotch. He's on a high crotch. I'm in a front headlock. I'm in this wizard seatbelt. Okay. We did. So 20 situations within, you know how normally when you work out, you have a good workout or a good wrestling workout, like the next day you feel it. I'm sitting there afterwards. I'm telling you, 7 minutes in, my neck started to lock up, my shoulder started to lock up. I was like, I cannot be doing this stuff anymore. I was so messed up. I was turning. When I had to look somewhere, I was just doing like this and like this. And so, no, I don't want to. I wrestle if you want to watch me wrestle, come to a 512 Outlaws practice. I roll with some of the high school kids sometimes. That's probably going to be your only opportunity to watch me wrestle.
Can we live stream it and commentate it? Can we come live stream and commentate you in practice? Dang!
No, but no, I did get. I've always been pretty active, but I think I got in shape I got in this version of shape in like 2019, 2020 when I stopped. I totally changed how I trained and worked out, and I used to really like lifting heavy. And back in the day, I actually did like a bench press contest, if you can actually believe that. I just like lifting heavy and getting big. And then as kind of ties back to my previous story, like recovery was just like, I'd be so messed up for like days. And again, I'm not on like TRT or anything. So I'd just be sore. And I'm like, wait, I'm only working out like 2-3 times a week because I just like, I'm not recovering. So then I changed it and I was listening and reading. I was like, I want to be able to work out every single day. And so I changed so I do stuff every single day, but I feel good the next day, so I'm always like, I'm pushing it, but I never feel bad. And so when you get that level of volume, even if I'm not lifting, I'm not benching 225 for whatever, I'm just doing a lot of dips and a lot of pull-ups and a lot of push-ups and kettlebell stuff every single day. And then I started to eat a lot smarter and started to intermittent fast and sauna. And so a lot of really easy things. It's not harder than what I used to do. It's easier. It's just like those little things, intermittent fasting, sauna, and doing something every day. And I'm pretty freaking shredded. I can't disagree with your assessment.
I got him on intermittent fasting now.
There's a lot of fasting that needs to happen yet. Christian, I got to thank you. I really appreciate you coming on. I really appreciate your work. But something else I really appreciate is I can tell you're a man that is strong in your faith. And that kind of goes with both Zach and I. I appreciate that. A lot of people, they talk. You never say anything about it. I can just tell it. It's in your walk. And so I appreciate that. But thank you for all you do for this sport. That's genuinely from my heart.
I second that. Also, I've come to find, Christian, we are the exact same. You got a bad shoulder, I got a bad shoulder. We're both older brothers, limited high school wrestling experience, but a good younger brother. What else? We're basically the same age, I think, Christian. I mean, we're the same person.
How old are you, Zach?
37? I'm 37 or 38.
You don't know your age.
I'm 37.
Ay.
No.
By the way, Christian, he took a couple concussions.
I took a couple concussions.
Yeah.
That'll shorten a career too. Yeah, no, yeah. I appreciate it, guys. I try. Yeah, I stay out of the fray. That wasn't always the case. I had to learn a lot with that stuff, but it's not helpful at all. But I appreciate that. And I love what I get to do. I really am, just so thankful I get to do this every single day. I'm like, this is really my job, and I'm very thankful, but I also, take it as like a real responsibility. And I think the sport, I have responsibility to the sport, and I love it a lot, and I want to see it grow. I really believe wrestling is the greatest sport in the world. There's nothing like it. There's nothing close. And I know what is in me and what I feel, and I just want other people to feel that too. And so if I can help in a small way and help people be able to be a fan a little bit easier or get them a little more excited about the sport, that fires me up too. So appreciate what you guys are doing in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. I've been there a few times.
Yeah, you said you're going camping there, right?
No, I don't camp. But my wife's grandma and her family were hog farmers in Gettysburg until now they live in Chambersburg now. But what was it, Baltimore something? It's right off the main thing, Baltimore Pike or something. Right there in Gettysburg is where they're from. And I was there like last summer or 2 summers ago.
No way.
Touristing.
That's right down the road from my house.
I'm sure it is. It ain't like Gettysburg's that big.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I even
right
know a hog farmer. You
What?
played football with the one son. What's that name?
Probably
I
not.
guess
They
world,
didn't have any sons, all daughters.
Okay.
But
Small
All right.
world. But listen,
right.
Christian Pyles, can't tell you how much we appreciate it. Could you imagine wrestling without Pyles and Flo? Unbelievable. We wouldn't even know about it. But very
You gotta
grateful,
stop.
Christian. Welcome on the show anytime. And
He gave us an hour, dude.
we got an hour, folks.
Dude, that's
Unbelievable.
awesome.
So,
I'd do it
awesome.
anytime. I do it anytime, guys. I love this. I would do this every day. I would do FRL every day. I would come on your show every day. So anytime you want it, let me know. I'll do it.
Pyles,
Thank
send me
you,
that.
Christian.
Mail me that Pepto Bismol or whatever because
Zantac.
I'm
That's
gonna
right.
need that Zantac
Right
for
here.
the next Wrestle
Got you
Madness.
covered.
If you win again, I'm
Pyles,
not
you're
even
going
joking,
down
but-
next time. You're going
Hokies,
down.
Cowboys. Hey, Hokies and Cowboys. That's right, my wheelhouse. I feel like I should do
No.
good here. It may be
Oh.
ironic for me to lose this one, though.
All right, I'm
That'll
gonna
be
start
the one that
counting
hurts
right
the
now.
most. He's
Yeah.
going down.
All right, folks. Christian
See you,
Pyles.
Christian. See you, dude.
Thanks again.
See you guys.
It's BG Wrestling.
Later.
See ya.
See ya.